good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Haz Mat Guys Nation Roundtable. This is a multimedia platform to bring hazmat response information and training tips from hazmat Salvation. And once again, I am with my two cohorts, Bob Kosh and Jason Rogers. From what I think Mike's coming on tonight. I'm pretty sure he is. Right?
I don't know.
I hope.
I haven't heard. He's MIA.
Yeah, you know what? We just started figuring out all these extra features that are in this this new Google Hangouts, and that's that new bar that we have at the bottom. Looks really handsome, right?
Oh, the episode 26. I love it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's new stuff. Figuring it out.
You know, when you're going to do a binge watching of episodes, you're not going to get lost in what's going on, right?
Just easily pick it up and get right back into the mix.
You know, the one thing I noticed this time is I don't have the Q&A button on the bar anymore.
Really?
I
see it.
I have the chat, the share, and then the showcase like that, and that's it.
So, Bob, try the three dots on that side, look and see, and you should be able to add apps and maybe see the Q&A there. Because it gives me options to see a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah, I don't have any three dots.
Okay.
Anyway, that's right. Not a big deal. You guys can answer any questions. I'm just going to play dumb.
Okay.
Easy for me. Easy for me.
So what's been going on? A lot of stuff in the news, right? I mean, actually, it seems like it's a very busy news week.
Crazy. I just want to bring up one thing real quick. Phil and I got a couple emails. I think Paul Rogers and a couple other people were asking about an update from the car accident with the fatality of the young child and the mother on the turnpike here in Florida. There was some talk about whether or not it was the battery under the seat or if it was a chem suicide or CO or whatever. The results still aren't out yet, I'm sorry to say. They're waiting for the toxicology reports to come out, so probably I would hazard to guess about 2 more weeks. So we'll probably see something or hear something about 2 weeks. So when that comes out, we'll let everybody know on the show and kind of go from there. But just want to give an update because there was a few people that were asking. Yeah,
that's still it's ongoing, right? I mean, it's still now. What is it? It corner or is it a multi? I guess it's multi-level, right? Like kind of investigation.
Yeah. It's everybody's kind of a holding pattern, waiting for the toxicology reports to come back to the ME's office. So, in light of everything that happened here a couple weeks ago, obvious reasons, the ME's office they're a little busy right now. So they're still doing other things and. They're trying to get it all sorted out. So hopefully in a week or two we'll have a better idea what's going on.
All right.
Is it still in the news? I mean, is it still getting local coverage at all?
No, because of what happened with the shooting. Yeah, it's like back page news now, 2 or 3 pages in.
What shooting? I was talking about an alligator thing.
Yeah, that even got buried about a page or 2 back already.
Wow. Well, what are we going to start with tonight? What are we going with?
I've got some news stories from Haz Mat Nation. How about we jump in there?
Go with it.
Okay, in Haz Mat Nation news, according to local media outlets, 2 trains have collided near Panhandle, Texas. Panhandle is the county seat of Carson County, Texas. Population about or just over 2,400. The 2010 census reported. The cool thing here, video does exist from a witness, the cell phone footage seconds after the initial impact, and you can view that cell phone footage from hazmatnation.com. Still ongoing. It said there were 3 railroad employees that they were still searching for, and last I saw, there was no report or updated report on that. From the information or from the pictures I saw from the aerial footage, it looked like a lot of intermodal containers and boxcar type stuff, but there was a huge fire. So go to hazmat.com and check that out. It is under the breaking news.
Wow. I've been to a few railroad derailments and whatnot, and like crashes and stuff like that. It's amazing how many gallons of diesel these things carry. It's like 20. I think it's. And don't hold me to this, but I think it's like 2,500 gallons.
Yes, you are correct. Each one of the trains, the engine holds about 2,500 to 3,000 gallons. Just learned that at the CSX rail class that we went to, and a little shout out to them, right? Now they put on an excellent school. If anybody's got a chance to go to that, I highly recommend it. They treat you like your first class, so it's awesome. But yes, and interestingly enough, the diesel does not run the engine. It powers the generator, and electricity runs the engine. Right.
Seems a little convoluted, but it actually works. Did you ever get inside one of those things? It is so tight in that.
Dude, we got to drive the simulators. We got to get on the real trains. I mean, they have a facility in Atlanta, Georgia, that is essentially if you're interested in trains and you know train training and all that sort of stuff, they have simulated bridges that they do climb. They work with their engineers and they do climbing on and how to climb on them. And we had this guy in his late 50s was doing climbing instruction for us, demonstrations. And man, this guy was like a cat into a tree. I mean, he's up this thing and down this thing. One side's a truss, one side is wood construction. I mean, it was really super cool. It was like a big playground for train people. I mean, it was really cool. But rail cars, they actually run remote control cars in the rail yards now with what looks to be like a Xbox controller. So I mean, just a ton of cool stuff down there. You get a chance to do those. What's the other one? Pueblo. I know it's a little bit different, and it's run by is it somebody else? Yeah, Certsy. Yeah.
Certsy, that's what it is.
Yeah. But this, if you get a chance to go to the CSX school, and it is called Incident Ready, Prevention Focused CSX Transportation Hazardous Material Systems. I don't know. They give us this cool looking patch for the school, but so awesome stuff.
While we're on this, and we don't get any kickbacks or anything, but Certsy, that guy, Forrest. Good guy. We just met him in Baltimore. He's a good guy. He was out there. He's actually promoting their new online. They have a web-based one for first responders. It's free, and I took it. It's pretty good. Certificate-based, and if you wanted to get like the CEUs, it's like $40 for the CEUs. But if you don't want the CEUs, it's free. So it's not a bad deal.
Did you pass it? Did you study?
I had a bone up. I had a call in the ringers.
I get not to get on the soapbox because I really don't want to. I get the whole online stuff. I don't know. I'm just afraid that here in the near future we're going to be so online based that we're going to see more injuries and more. More things of first responders because of budget cuts and chiefs having to do whatever, and they even with the tech class we talked about in the other episodes, everybody trying to go online, but I just got to say there's nothing that replaces hands-on. You got to have a hands-on. If you do an online thing, that's fine and dandy, but please make sure you go out and follow it up with hands-on training.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm done. I'll get off my soapbox now.
What else you got, Jay? Well, you know what? As far as was there any chemical release in that train derailment?
I think it's too early to tell. They did issue a shelter in place for a certain section of the city. However, it went from a mandatory shelter in place to a recommendation. I'm sorry, evacuations were recommendations. There were some shelter in place stuff. I think it's way too early to tell. From the pictures that I saw, it's a burning heap of steel.
Nice. So they got that going for them, which is nice.
Which is nice.
Right. What else is going on in the news?
All right, in other Haz Mat Nation news, first responders became the target of threats after a Mobile, Alabama man was shot by the police. All emergency personnel have been alerted to what has been described as a serious threat involving false 911 calls to lure responders into what they're considering to be a trap. According to the Mobile Fire and Rescue PIO, they will now be staging for every call and waiting for the police to secure the scene because of these threats. Mobile has a population of 195,000 plus. I looked up today, and they have, from what I can tell, 17 engine companies, 5 ladder companies, and 8 ALS ambulances, something like 85 certified paramedics. The comparison there as far as the police is concerned, because they're going to wait until the police secure the scene, every scene from this news release that I saw, and there are about 500 plus police officers with multiple divisions. So I don't know how many uniform officers they have taking calls on the street, but serious stuff, enough that they put a alert out to every single one of their responders. So not sure what necessarily is going to come of that. I know there were some community groups that were gathering to try to remediate some of the issues between the community and the government. But
now, when you say every call, like a abdominal pain, or I understand like scenes of violence and that kind of stuff. We stage for that stuff too, but that's just like our police department runs probably. I think I saw something the other day, like 300,000 calls. Our police department. Some are with us, obviously, but I can't even imagine tacking them on top of,
You know what? I'll give you an example. I mean, I can only speak for myself, or at least my department, but we do like a task force where they'll put a medic, ambulance, engine truck, and a cop car. And if it's a police run, the 4 of them go. If it's an EMS run, the 4 must go. If it's a truck run, it's 4 of them go. So like they all go together and they're peas in the pod, and it wears down on people because I mean you're doing obviously a lot more. New York City does 1.6 million EMS runs a year or something like that. It's absurd. Fire department does like 380,000. And I think the cops do. I don't know. They do like a metric
a billion calls a day.
Some retarded number, but that can wear you down. But they call it a fallback for us, and they only instituted it upon emergency. So the last time I remember them doing something like this, besides like the snow standby, like this like blizzard type conditions, was the blackout in 2006, where basically the entire eastern seaboard went down. Remember that? Everything went down from the Mississippi east, from Maine to probably Georgia, some shit like that. It went far, and New York City went into anarchy, and they started doing the task force thing. As far as hazmat, I don't know if we really stay, at least in New York City, we don't really. We kind of stay on the outside with special cold as far as getting into those scenes. We let the trucks, engines, cops, and ambulances do that kind of stuff.
So I did look at Mobile's kind of makeup, and they appear to have 20 or 30 stations. They do have hazmat. They've got technical rescue and all. I mean, everything that you would expect of a city that size. However, they did say in the press release that people may have to wait for emergency services up to 30 minutes until the police arrive. So I can only assume that they're going to call them at least until they feel the threat is diminished. They're going to wait on the cops for, grandma's fall with injury. It's
smart. What did that happen in? I want to say Georgia, Atlanta. It wasn't the Olympic bombing. It was something else where there was they kept on calling it automatic alarms, and they put the secondary device in the dumpster. This happened 15 years ago?
Oh, it's longer than that. You're talking about the abortion clinic bombings.
That's the one. Yeah, and they kept on calling it automatic alarms, and they kept on parking in the same spots. And then one day, the chief who wasn't at those automatic alarms parked in the spot blocking the secondary device. And he saved the whole community because he parked in the wrong spot. They had it all set up. Remember that, Bob?
Yeah, that was exactly what happened. Was the bomber the secondary bomb was purposely intended to get the first responders, and the chief or police officer, whoever it was, just happened to park his car catty corner to where it was supposed to go off and saved a bunch of guys. And it's funny, when we were in Boston, recently, we had heard stories from different people that, over the course of several weeks or maybe even a month, that they were getting calls for explosions or loud noises, and they didn't know if it was maybe a transformer or potentially, it was never confirmed, if it was transformers going off or those Boston bombers testing out what they had. So, yeah, I mean, who knows what's happening prior to.
I got to say, as far as hazmat technicians and guys that are going offensive, we're really not prepared. We're kind of vulnerable. We're so scared of even putting our knee down on the ground, let alone a possibility of even a mediocre explosive device that would just ruin it. I mean, like, you can easily plant a small charge somewhere deep with a hazmat thing, and you're stripping all the safeties that we have out of things. Like, I'm always thinking about that. It's very easy to do.
Yeah, and it goes back to some of the things we've talked about in the past of don't go to the same place. We have certain areas in Orlando that we get bomb threats to or suspicious packages. Most of them are bum bags. Occasionally there's been different type incidents, but we try to not go in the same route. But it's just you get complacent. You've been someplace 20 times and you're going to go the same way. So whether it's because it's a one-way street or whatever, but yeah, if you could change it up even just a little bit, that might save your life.
Bob Lundgren just said it was Eric Rudolph in Atlanta. That's not the one we're talking about, though, right? Is that the guy?
Yeah, Eric Rudolph was Atlanta.
But he
did both. He did both.
Oh. Yeah. Okay, there you go. Thank you, Bob Lundgren. You know what's always amazing? Every time there's somebody that does something dastardly, they always have 3 names. Is that weird?
Yeah.
So weird.
And I just got to ask a quick question: is Bob? Because I can't see who we only Bobby can see who's all on there, folks. In case you are typing something in, I just want to know: is Lundgren calling in from Antigua or Aruba or wherever it was he was? Because if he's on vacation, dude, your wife's gonna kill you.
Yeah, he is putting in the questions. He said the MSP bomb and Tier 1 hazmat took that in, or J-Hurt, they call it. So, yeah, good information. Thank you very much, Bob. So, what else you got there, fella?
I've got one more thing, one more news. Finally, this is Nation, and I'm really upset that Mike Monaco, is that what you call him? Monaco.
He said he pronounces it different if they call him Mike or Michael. It's
Mike Monaco.
It's pronounced Mike Monaco or Michael Monaco. I guess it's either way. I don't know. It's his alias.
I don't know, but I love it on the podcast when you do that to him. It's awesome. But bad news for Mike. I mean, this is bad news. So, Westport, Massachusetts, Dateline, right? A dairy farm named, are you ready for this? The Ferry Dairy, that is spelled Ferry, Mike, was destroyed when a fire broke out in a small barn. However, it spread quickly to 2 large barns because of a mound, which was described, of fertilizer accelerating the Ferry fire. And sadly, several cows were killed in this fire. No injuries of people, but they're probably Holsteins, which I know are Mike's favorite kind of Ferry Dairy cow.
How's that? You like that?
That's awesome. I like that.
You just figured that out. How about a monocle? Let's do one. All right.
There you go. Colonel Clink. I love it.
Oh, wait. There, I got that.
All right, now we've totally gone crazy.
He looks like Steve Martin in where he's sitting there eating I can't remember the movie.
Where he's at the dinner table. Yeah.
Yeah, with the fork, and he's got a cork on it because he's gonna stick himself in the eye.
So anyway,
that's awesome.
You know what? We're going to throw this out there on a poll. If you guys want to comment back on this or something like that, we were kicking around recently. We started doing some demos on doing the I'm going to mention it, the news, right? Do you want to?
Yeah.
The idea was to bring together the best of the news for the week, and then one of us would read it to you so that when you're in the car going to work or whatever, you're able to catch up. And then if you want to further go back, you can go to hazmatnation.com and explore those news articles a little deeper. But we're going to try to package it up so that it's very easy for you to kind of catch up if that's what you want. So there will be something coming out very soon as far as a new show title and episode. It should be in iTunes, Stitcher, and all the like, Google Music and all that stuff. So
yeah, kind of the idea we were talking about, and I think it's before Bobby and I really started getting too deep into the Pete's Porterhouse. Was like you said, we're going to read 4 or 5 things and then maybe dissect them 4 or 5 days later on that Tuesday on the show. So kind of like a warm up and then a wrap up.
Right, and if you want to spin up on it, you can be spun up on what we're going to talk about. You're not in the heels, so it's an idea we're toying around with. We're still putting down it's a lot of moving parts, but we're putting it together. It should be very simple. It's probably like going to be a 5 to 10 minute show, if that, as fast as we could read it.
Right.
I am completely shooting from the hip here, but I want, and maybe you guys will agree with this, but the viewers or the listeners or however you're taking this all in could potentially be part of that and send in their information from their shows, from their responses, from their local media, whatever, and
absolutely,
we will absolutely throw that out there and make you, the listener, the viewer, or whatever you're doing, the replayer of the YouTubes, as somebody says back here at the comedy show. But get them involved in it. Get them on our YouTubes.
Just email it to thhmgnation@gmail.com or hook up with us on our Facebook page or whatever it is. So
absolutely. Yeah. So if we can, I want to, because I know Bobby's got a subject and I got a couple things I want to talk about, but let's go back to the fertilizer thing for a second. We had an actual incident years ago where we had a plant that caught on fire and there was fertilizer burning. So let's dissect that as the first due response. What are you going to do? It's a fire. We know there's fertilizer in there. A particular incident. Well, you know what? Before I tell you what we did, let's see what we're going to do. Let's go around the table.
All right. So, do you want me to start, Jay, or you want me to do it?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right.
You're going to get it first. It's a fire call.
Right. Well, is this on fire, Bob?
Yeah. Yep. You got a warehouse or whatever, and there's some fertilizer in there, and it's get a fire.
All right. So I'm going to assume the fire is extinguished. If I'm coming in, I'm dealing with runoff. The runoff is going to be laden with which I'm watching Jason. He's a jerk. I'm going to be concerned about runoff. That's going to be one of the things. But one of the big ones is if these guys were knees down in this runoff, they're going to have some probable organophosphate sludgeum type presentation. So I would definitely call, I don't know what you guys call it for, but we call it the MERV, the Medical Emergency Room Vehicle. It's a school bus that is like a hospital on wheels. And we have one of them in every borough, which is what we call a county. So these things can come out with a couple of doctors on them. I would say that would be one of the special calls I would call for. As far as, well, I'd want to know what was in there. I mean, because we all know that if there's a fertilizer and a fuel source, right? Because an oxidizer is going to be, some type of, it's going to work with a fuel source. And the way I'm going with this is the ANFO angle.
Right.
So explosions.
Right. So, I mean, this could be something as simple as the grease on the rails on the forklift to the oil stains from the parking lot. This could have a problem. So if they're mixed in the right proportions, they're going to be a problem. I'd probably be first off going with my 4-gas and my thermal gun because I want to see reactivity. That's good.
When you say I get the forecast for the air monitoring, are you talking about make and entry?
Yeah, I'm going
I
to kind
mean,
of start the perimeter and just kind of look at it from a distance because I don't want to be in there and go, holy cow, we're in that zone. This can go boom, and I'm 60 feet from the door. You know,
okay, that totally makes sense. Why the thermal gun? Because the pictures that I saw of this dairy fire, I mean, it's an inferno. The whole place, I mean, it looked like it devastated the entire farm. So, explain why you're using your tick.
all right, because if I got the runoff thick with dissolved nitrates or dissolved fertilizers, and that's interacting with, and I'm making up some stuff because I didn't even see these pictures, but let's say it interacts with, some type of petroleum source, and it'll start reacting. It'll start giving off heat. So that's probably gonna be one of my first indications of it because I can't really go up there and touch it. This allows me to interrogate it. If I can shoot it with the thermal gun with the laser on it, I can do it cheaply. Now in the fire department, we have thermal imaging cameras, which allows us to look at large areas, um, you know, uh, and see thermal patterns, like visualizations of thermal patterns. But one of those things that I commonly see guys in hazmat do, especially guys that are, I want to say the newer generation's much better with it of firefighters, but I'm going to say that the older guys are a little worse in this, is that when they see white in that thermal imager, they're like, oh, it's hot, open up, break open the walls. Great trick, use your hand. Use your hand out there, and that's your reference to the wall. And if it's colder than my hand, well, my hand's 98 degrees. So it gives me a reference point for everything. So I would use my hand as a reference. All it's going to do is tell you the difference between A and B on the screen. So I don't know. I mean, this is a dairy fire. I'm sure they're going to have some type of fertilizers, right? I mean, the Agway is probably dropping off there regularly.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, because you got to feed them, so you got to grow stuff to feed them. I mean, that's the only way you're going to survive in that industry, for sure. So you're going to have pesticides, you're going to have herbicides, you're going to have fuels. I mean, grease. There's all. I mean, anything. I mean, it's essentially an agricultural factory. So
Yeah.
Well, and going and we're kind of talking about the first responders, but as far as the hazmat text, Todd Burton just sent me a text because I can't see questions for some reason, and he said ammonia sensor or PID, nitric acid, Draeger, pH paper. So those are all very good tools, and thanks Todd for chiming in.
Yeah.
That you could use as a hazmat tech to try and see what you got. But as far as the first due units, when you're coming up to something like this, and kind of go back to the incident that we had years ago, where it was a neighboring department where we were actually being called in as a hazmat team while they were still fighting the fire, and they had the stick up in the air with a guy in there, and they were in the smoke and everything else, and like you mentioned, you got to be worried about explosions if you have the fuels and whatnot. I think there was an oxidizer class recently that someplace, I don't know where that was, where they were talking about oxidizers. Baltimore, that's right. But there's these things that we could be talking about, and that could cause a big boom. But in this particular incident, they were just fighting a fire, and basically they were concerned more with the runoff and the decon than anything else. So, when you're fighting a fire like that and you realize what you got, the big thing is to stay upwind from it. Just talking from a purely first due guys, because you should have hopefully done a little pre-plan of your first due area, and this building has fertilizers in it. Try to establish where your water supplies are, where your runoff's going to be, and if at all possible, try to keep you and your equipment out of the smoke.
Yeah, I mean, people are saying that that fertilizer, pesticides, herbicides, absolutely, all these things are going to be in there. Tons of runoff dilution, and in reality, I mean, I'm looking at the screenshot that's up on the screen right now from Jason's computer, and that's not a little room and contents. That's a barn burner. I would wager a guess that they are throwing tens of thousands of gallons into this, and more than likely the concentration in solution is going to be very low. Bob Stern's thrown out there, the ChemPro, of course, the ChemPro, but that's just one of the many medias that you can use on this thing. You can use anything from mass spec to hybrid mass spec to FTIR. I would say you bring everything up, and because your primary metering is going to, it's just for primary hazards, and after that, it's going to be back to let's start identifying. But at that point, what's left? As far as everything is consumed by that fire. I'm going to bet you just about everything is consumed.
Yeah, I'm going to agree. That, I mean, like I said, that was a massive ordeal. It was, I believe, it started like 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, so it probably went unnoticed for a while. And then, I mean, I look at it as everything in what my daughter does 4-H. So at my father-in-law's farm, 10 miles from where we live, she's got her 4-H project. Everything in that barn is combustible. Everything. And we have, hay bales and straw bales and, on top of all the chemicals, all the wood, all the lumber, and, the all that. I mean, it is just going to roar. So.
Right.
Well, that was a good little quick down and dirty.
I like that. That was fun.
All right, let's
Bobby,
move to another one.
You know the difference between hay and straw?
What?
About $2.
That's Indiana humor, Bobby.
Indiana through and through. Oh my word!
Shout out to my 4-H friends.
I love those guys. All right. So how about some molten aluminum?
Let's do that one. That was insane. I saw that.
Dude, it was crazy.
Again, I saw that on you posted it on our little group, but that was on the hazmatnation.com website of what was it? An overturned 407, an insulated 407 that overturned and split.
It's kind of hard to see what it was, but I think so. It happened in Tennessee. It was carrying liquid metal. Ended up being molten aluminum, which was 25,000 pounds. It's a lot. I'm going to try and share this here.
Yeah, put that up because I know the DOT has certain regulations, and that's why the barrels and the thicknesses are set that way. And a standard 406, 407, unless that was a extremely specialized container. I mean, even the 312s, which are those like drinking straws on a trailer, those things. Look at that! I cannot believe it. Looks like what is that? What the hell is that movie? Terminator, where the liquid guy gets splattered across. That's
like T1000.
Yeah, T1000. Look, he bit it right there.
So when you look at that, this stuff is carried. I want to say it's like 15,000 to 2,000 degrees because obviously they got to keep it so hot so that it stays somewhat liquid. Otherwise, it gets all mucked up in the piping and the tanks and whatnot. So what do you do for something like that? I mean, we had an asphalt truck overturn one day. Yeah, God, it's probably been 24 years now, and it's still in that part of the road. I mean, obviously they went over it as much as they could and sanded it, whatever. But the remnants of it's still there 25 years later almost. And there you go. There's a better shot. Well, how's that coming on your screen? Pretty good?
You can definitely see it. It almost looks surreal, but I bet you that thing is hard as a rock.
Well, and that's the thing. There was some discussion on some of the different chat rooms I was looking at. Oh, it was on fire. We got to put it out. Well, you got to be careful of that because when you add water, then we get into an explosive situation. Which is a whole other ball game. A lot of the injuries, and I think in 2014 I was reading somewhere they had like 61 deaths or injuries, I forget which, from this, and a lot of it was because of moisture getting involved. There was explosions, or because of the vapors and the mixtures, there was just the right ignition source. So when you think of aluminum, you think, that's stuff we're going to wrap our food up with after we had dinner in the firehouse or something. We're going to get some aluminum foil and wrap it up. But you're talking molten stuff that is really hot, and when it's going through its transfer process, can be kind of dangerous. what they had to do here is really this is one of those situations where you step back and you do nothing. You
Right.
let it cool off,
Yeah.
and you tell the chief or the mayor or whoever, hey, your stuff's gonna be shut down for a while. This is not a hurry up and do something because someone's gonna get hurt.
You're going to make them feel good about what you're doing, and you're going to say we're going to protect the water supply of the citizens and let that stuff cool down.
Yeah.
Ooh, I like that. That sounds good.
No, I mean seriously, that's you got to make that warm and fuzzy, because that's what you're doing. It is, and I think Bob Lundgren just said it. Let it cool. It's easier to handle when it's a solid. That to me right there, that's going to be a contractor's problem. They're going to dig that. The EPA people for your state, whatever you call them, are going to come in and they're going to do some soil sampling and all that sort of stuff. And I mean, it's going to be a mess, but for a while. But I don't think that's a tough one to manage as a spill. I mean,
now that's an easy, exactly, and that's an easy one. But the thing is to recognize this is the scene that you do nothing. You dike it off and do nothing.
Right. Right, exactly, and Bob Stern has got a pretty good point. If it was on asphalt, then you might have a vapor concern with it liberating out all the the petroleum and stuff like that. So, yeah, I would say you set up a perimeter, let the thing cool, and once it cools, all your problems go away. Then it's just I don't know, you probably just I think. Can you scroll up some, Bob?
Oh, yep, stand by.
I think
go back to it.
Them breaking it up with a front end payloader. That's probably the easiest way, just to basically sheet it off the ground. Up a little more. Right there. It looks like they're just, basically scooping it. And that's what I would have just basically up and cracked it and taken away the aluminum plates.
Exactly.
That's what I'm down to now. It's aluminum plate. So that's, yeah. So, good stuff.
So, just an interesting, not your average call, so there you go.
The word out of Baltimore was those were the melted aluminum Guinness cans from Kosh's stay at the hotel.
Indeed.
No, at the hotel they had it on tap. It was that cheap Irish bar we were at by the stadium.
Yeah,
Pickles.
I don't know, whatever it was. Irish. That's almost as bad as drinking red wine out of a box. You know what I'm talking about?
Box of wine.
Box of wine. Crazy.
I have one, and I guess I'll take this home because it's probably going to take me about 15 minutes to go through this. But we were talking today at I was at work today, and we were chatting. I don't know how it came around, but we were talking about liquid carbon dioxide and them using it in restaurants. And I've been to dozens of these things. They I don't know about you guys, but we have these all around New York City. They're constantly being chirped. And one of the ones, and this is what I was going to have to, I was going to hoping that Jay-Z was going to be on, because the Phoenix one, everybody's familiar with that Phoenix incident that happened a couple of years ago. I'll review it, but because I wrote some notes down here. But CO2, especially in liquids, used to carbonate soft drinks, exposure in soda systems, not Guinness. They use nitrogen for that warm feeling. But you're going to find it basically everywhere: restaurants, bars, sports and theaters, all that kind of stuff. There are other uses, and some of these I was kind of surprised. Obviously, fire extinguishers. They use it to decaffeinate coffee. If you have one of those. What are they? The people that brown the coffee beans. The people that what the hell do you call it? The roasters. We have a lot of those hippies. The hipsters, and not hippies. The hipsters. Very different thing in New York City. But carbon dioxide, again, it goes from solid to dry ice. It sublimes. So how do we get it to liquid? By dropping the temperature, right? So it's something like that. So when it's in liquid form, we're really using it for like a refrigerant. You can also use it in food additive as pop rocks. Remember those things when we were kids?
Yeah.
But we'll see them out there in air guns, paintball guns, and that kind of like. Just good.
Haz Mat 7 says it's big on the West Coast for high quality THC extraction in marijuana.
Yeah. Well, is this Haz Mat 7? Is that what they're using now in lieu of the benzene? That is part of that whole honey pot. What is it? Honey oil.
Honey honey oil.
They're using carbon dioxide now. That's interesting.
It
If
says good for all essential oil extractions is Haz Matter 7. Thank you for that.
I think that's Todd Burton.
Oh yeah, you know what? It is. I see his picture. You're right. I think that is him. All right, I'll get back to Todd. I'm just going to go through this a couple of things. Just basic stuff about CO2. A quick refresher on it. Colorless, odorless at low concentrations. Much heavier than air. It's a 44, where air is 29. Non-flammable. The vapor pressure is 56.5, and vapor pressure on standard is 1. So it's a lot more expansive, but it's 3,000 to 1 expansion ratio. IP address at 13.77. So unless you're using, well, actually, you're not picking it up because it doesn't have the, as far as a PID or an FID. And it is a simple asphyxiant, which really brings into that whole Phoenix Fire Department. For those of you who don't know about it, I would definitely look this one up because it's a great learning point. Here's the basic particulars. There was an EMS call for Phoenix. The report was given for a pregnant female employee who had fallen. I think this was a McDonald's.
I think so, yeah.
I think it was a McDonald's, right? It was a KFC, something like that.
Nope, it was McDonald's.
McDonald's.
They do a great YouTube video on this whole thing.
Yeah, right. Where they all interview everybody.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a very good one. Upon arrival, the firefighters encountered a woman on the floor at the top of the basement stairs, conscious but unable to verbalize. They had no PPE, no SCBA, or no meters because, I mean, they're going in for an EMS run. So why would you bring that in the first place? 2 members go down the stairs to investigate, and after about 15 seconds, the members began feeling lightheaded and burning sensation in their throats. They exited post-haste and first collapsed at the top of the stairs, and the second one having difficulty breathing. The officer requested hazmat to the scene, and they evacuated the building. So what seemed to have happened was there was an interior system, and if you don't know this, that McDonald's has the what is it? They actually call it the mixed CO2 or the mixed carbon dioxide. It's no joke. That's what they really have. It's a dewar in the basement that is it's called a mixed dewar or something silly like that. It's like you never think. Supposedly what happened was the guy goes down there and there is an active alarm that's next to the cylinder to alert them of that because of the density of the molecular weight of this thing. It wants to fill the bottom up, and it's in the basement. So what the guy did was, because the thing kept chirping, he put a piece of tape across the sensor, disabling it, and then he forgot to take the tape off.
Yes.
Oops. Oh, a leak. So they had a large.
That's our job security right there, my friend.
Right. So they had a large supply hose connected to the cylinder. The hose led to the exterior fill, so it basically goes out through the wall to the exterior fill. And he had it hooked up outside, but we came in because you got to open up the valving and all the other crap. And the alarm will be located in the vicinity of the cylinder. I'm just going through my stuff. Sorry, guys. The cylinder is located at the exterior wall away from the front of the building, and it's behind usually a chain-linked fence. Usually, but you got to check your local codes. And then they have the supply lines for the plastic tube and reading to the soda systems inside. Again, the CO2 is stored in the liquid form. Why? Because it's 3,000 to 1. And it's much more efficient to get all that stuff in there. So, the dewars, which these things are 4 feet tall. I mean, they're big. They're big, and they hold a lot of liquid in there. Numerous valves. If you haven't seen these things, definitely pop this up. There are many valves. There's a liquid fill. There's a vapor dispersion. There's like a bypass. There's inside there's a hood of tubing that is allowing this stuff to expand and become gaseous CO2, which is what they need. They don't want liquid coming out into the soda. It would kill you, basically. But what happened with this stuff is that this basement filled up like a swimming pool with carbon dioxide, and everybody knows that carbon dioxide is as simple as asphyxiant. It basically pushes the air out. So if they went into the basement with their foregas, they would have seen the oxygen plummet to like nothing.
Well, now, would a CO monitor detect anything?
Nah, you know what? I don't think it would. I
And
don't
the
think.
reason why I bring that up is because there's a lot of EMS units that are adding CO detectors, single sensor detectors, to their life packs. Not oxygen, but CO. So, is there a cross sensitivity to that?
I got to look that up, but I'm almost sure no.
I want to say that from when we watched that video as a hazmat team and took like a quiz on it. I want to say, and this is totally from memory, so I could be wrong, but I want to say they were alerted to the fact that the O2 sensor alarmed because it was like 17%, 18%. I mean, something way off the hook.
Right, and really the point that I'm trying to get to is I think you're right, Bobby. It does not, and there's a lot of departments that are going just with a strict CO sensor, and really that I think they probably ought to be going with the O2 sensor because you're going to cover a wider range of things that are going to displace oxygen, CO, CO2, all these other items. So don't get lulled in the fact that, well, I have a CO sensor on my LifePak 15 and that's going to cover everything, because it's not.
You know what? I'm going to probably get myself in trouble on this one because this is one of those reasons where I'm going to bet that these guys, if they did have a 4-gas meter, they would not be understanding the numbers. And operations guys utilizing meters is truly an AHJ consideration, the authority having jurisdiction. So for those of you that don't know how this whole thing works, the chief of department is the authority having jurisdiction for that. He's the king of the fiefdom, and he makes the calls on who does what. So he's going to be the guy that says, you know what, the guy's operations, all these trucks and engines, I got to put CO detectors on them. I'm allowing it, knowing that they know if it beeps, turn around and come out. And that's the level of proficiency. He's got to sign off on that. Now, by the by, 472 and 49 CFR 1910 120 says that that's a technician level skill.
Right.
And I'm not armchair quarterbacking these guys or anything, but would this have been different? And probably not. I mean, even if I was on this run, I would interpret this as an EMS run. Would things have been different if I could read, something like that? So.
Yeah, and just and really, just my whole comment was I just don't want people to get lulled in the fact that they have a CO sensor detector, and that's going to be their all to beat all, because it's not.
Right, and the O2 low. Bob Lundgren's confirming this, and Christina Saracino says, is there anything that can be done to handle a cryo CO2 release, either liquid or gaseous? And to be honest with you, shut down the tank, remove the tank, and ventilate. Because
yep, that's it.
It's going to fly away.
Super heavy, and the solubility is the solubility is actually decent because that's how a soda bottle works. So as long as it does dissolve in water quite readily. Not completely, it's not miscible, but if it was, it wouldn't liberate.
And the other thing too is the number one thing is your size up. What are you going to? You're going to a medical call. Granted, it's just a medical call, but what's the deal? If you're reading, if you have a screen, an MTD, a mobile data terminal, or whatever it is you have, or tear and run sheet, whatever, read those notes, because there could be something very important in those notes. There's a person passed out in the basement. There's a person passed out wherever this tank might be, and maybe when you arrive on scene, that's the very first question you ask.
Right.
Is this person next to that type of tank?
Well, one thing, just a couple of considerations in the regard of Chris Sirachia's question is, in all reality, if this thing was blowing off, let's say via the interior, you have a very good probability of having ice plugs, right? Because if you have any type of humidity, that humidity is going to be frozen on that cryogenic. So if we're going up there to do this, we have to have the right firefighting gloves. They're not going to pull it off. You'll get burned through that. And I'm not talking a thermal burn. I'm talking a thermal burn in the cold sense. So get the right gloves on for this. And you may need to either knock off that ice plug or wait for it to move, or maybe just bring a bucket of water down to get that whole thing to move. And once you get it to move, you can pretty much shut it down. More often than not, we give it a smack with a hammer and then turn the valve because it's preventing the valve from shutting. But it's as far as I've seen, it's rare that the valve itself goes. It's more likely the tubing froze and cracked.
Right.
And I was gonna point that out. You're talking about the valve, and that you want to maybe get the ice off of. But if it's your tubing or it's a joint or something that's failed, maybe you do want the auto refrigeration because it's going to stop the leak, right?
But it's going to melt, and then it's going to wash, rinse, repeat over and over. So, utilize it when you can. And we've gone as far as putting some water onto it, and putting water onto the thing and creating an ice plug and then dragging up the stairs so we can move it. Just considerations. So
that's good. Good stuff.
Yeah, it's that's it, man. That's all I got.
And those leaks are very common.
Yeah.
We just don't see them in the news.
All the time.
Yeah.
Well, and even to the point that this wasn't even a hazmat call; it was a medical call. It was a pregnant female who they thought wasn't feeling good, and called for an ambulance. And they got an engine company and the ambulance crew. And those guys, I mean, in the video, they readily say, I wouldn't go as far as say they blew it off, but it was very unexpected.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
I mean, what would you do? That's what I would do. If I was going in there, I'd probably be going in there with shorts and a t-shirt. I wouldn't even be thinking of it if I was an engine in a truck. That wouldn't be my first thought. I have a pregnant female complaining of near syncope and dizziness. Okay, you're being pregnant.
Right. Yeah.
I mean,
you're right. Absolutely right.
They let you wear shorts?
What? Yes, of course they do. Come on.
Yeah, but I mean, you wear them out. I mean, do you get a lot of stares? Because I've seen you in shorts. It looks like you're riding a chicken.
Yeah, these are my getaway sticks.
They're fast.
But since Mike's not here, I'm going to pick on him. He's got great legs.
Yeah, he does. And the Crocs really
connected to Crocs.
The Crocs are what makes it.
Yeah. Well, I just tell him I just got back from the calendar shoot, so I tell him.
I saw a picture of you in a calendar shoot once.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. All right. So let's wrap this thing up. Bob, tell us a little bit about yourself and where we can find you.
Wait a minute. Time out.
Yeah.
I got.
Time out.
Let me interrupt. I got one thing. HazmatNation.com. We have these awesome T-shirts, and for all those who attended the IAFC in Baltimore, you probably received this today. And if you didn't get one of these T-shirts in Baltimore, I got a special offer for you that I cleared with the boss, our good friend Phil Ambrose. But sign up to receive our email about shows like this and many other hazmat opportunities today only. Be the first person after I announce this, so right now, and we'll give the next person to opt into our emails this awesome Hazmat Nation T-shirt. I will mail it to you myself.
And this is recorded June 28th of 2016, so...
10:09 p.m. for Phil. He's going to let me know who the lucky winner is.
I'm going to
be the first guy.
You have one.
Oh, yeah. All right, so you know what, Jason, you already got the mic. Hit it. What do you got?
Okay, I'm Jason Rogers, and you can catch me at hazmatnation.com, Facebook, Twitter. That's probably the easiest way to get to me. I'm there every day.
Excellent. Bob?
Nice. Bob Costagnano, Hazmat Lieutenant Orlando. You can get me at hzmtlt@gmail.com or at hazsim.com or at hzmtlt at Twitter.
Very nice. And I am Bobby Salveson, and I am one of the co-hosts for the Hazmat Guys podcast. You can find us at hazmatguys.com. You can check us out on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Music things and stuff. We're all, I don't know. And you know what? You can also check us out. Me and Mike will both be presenting. We were very honored to be asked to come up to Plymouth Rock, the illustrious and benevolent Plymouth Rock. The Massachusetts hazmat team is having a conference up there in September 18th, 19th, 20th, somewhere around there.
Yeah, right around there.
You will be going up there. I will be giving a talk on transferring of fuels and Mike is going to be doing his ever popular oxidizer speech, and where he burns the house down. He almost burned Connecticut down the other day. We were together teaching, and it worked out.
Nice.
Yeah, so listen, everybody, that wraps up another episode of the Haz Mat Guys Nation Roundtable. Please be sure to follow us on Facebook, which is the Hazmat. What is it? Hazmat Nation. The Hazmat Guys Nation.
Haz Mat Guys Nation Roundtable on Facebook. Yeah.
All right, and be sure to catch this week, well, and every week, because we're putting them up on YouTube, and they are going to be spectacularly produced, and we do it every Tuesday at 21:15 hours Eastern Standard Time, right here on Google Hangouts. It seems to be a very robust platform, and we're getting a lot of positive feedback. So please help us spread the word. Have them go on to Google. I guess it's what is it? Plus one us.
Google Plus, yeah, plus one us adds them in or something like that.
Yeah, and then once you get into that, once I schedule the show, you'll have the ability to say, yeah, I want to be notified about it, or you can say, no, I'm not going to be able to come on, and that's fine. And no harm, no foul. You can check out the YouTube channel afterwards, and we have a lot of new ideas coming up in the future, like.
Yeah, and actually, we just put a tab on the on hazmatnation.com. There's a tab for the Haz Mat Guys Nation, so you can click on that tab and it'll pop up all the episodes. You can check those out there, one-stop shop.
Yeah, one of the things I really miss about the old Blab platform is that once we stop the broadcast, we can still hang out with everybody, and now
yeah,
go off, everything goes away. It's very sad.
Yeah.
I know. I mean, I've got off-air commentary about some of our followers. I mean, and we just can't put it on.
We're gonna have to figure this out. We'll have to figure it out. It's a work in progress.
You know what? I have an idea. We're gonna continue the broadcast. I can edit this on YouTube. I can do that. I know how to do that. And I just did a class in Baltimore on doing exactly that. So the show's over.
I thought